been doing a little bit of thinking recently, which is almost never a good idea when it comes to me, but well, you know what? You can't fix stupid. But I had a thought about how, you know what? I've played a lot of different gacha games, and I thought, you know what? It might be fun to make a little tier list about some of these gacha games that I've played before, ones that, you know, I really like and actually really stand the test of time and stand up as a very solid game in and of itself, and what ones are just absolute garbage tier games that just should not be touched ever again and should probably have never been made in the first place, if we're all being honest. So I figured, you know what? Let's do that together. So I've put together this really cool tier maker tier list where I'm going to cover some of the games that I've played. There's some honorable mentions and other popular ones that I just wanted to talk about and kind of walk through and give some of my thoughts on each of these gacha games. But before we do, guys, make sure to drop a like and subscribe on the channel. I would greatly appreciate that. Onto this tier list. So I'm going to be moving a little bit quicker on this one because, look, how many games do we have? 26, 27, 28. I've got 28 different gacha games on this list here. Even if I spent 1 minute on each of the games, guys, this video would be nearly 30 minutes long at this point. So we're going to move a little bit quickly on each of these games, and I'm just going to give a few thoughts on each of them and where I'm going to place them on this tier list. As our tier list goes this time, we've got S tier, which is like a top tier game, a really standout quality game, usually from multiple perspectives in terms of like free to play friendliness, the quality of gameplay itself, the art style, animations, and story are all different factors that I look at when playing a game. I'm not a big PvP guy myself, so I don't rate that super highly, but that's just going to be on my tier list. This is a subjective tier list, guys, so get over it. We're going to talk about it now, okay? So let's go in and take a look and start off with our first game here, AFK Arena. Now, AFK Arena is not the first gacha game that I ever tried, but was one of the earlier ones. It was being advertised like crazy at the time, and I did give it a shot, and I'm not huge on idle gacha games that doesn't really stand out to me. The auto gameplay also can really start to like wear on me because it's exclusively auto gameplay basically on AFK Arena. So it didn't stick with me very long, but I will say from like an art design and kind of like lore perspective, they do a pretty good job with it. So in that case, we need to set the bar. I'm probably personally going to give AFK Arena a B tier for me. The next one, we've got Arknights. Arknights is one of our honorable mentions here of a game that I have not yet played and I plan to play. So that's one. It looks really cool. I've looked at a lot of the special animations and stuff for it. It looks like a really exciting game. One I definitely plan on trying. Dislight, I think, has a really cool aesthetic. Like the cyber, it's not quite cyberpunk, or maybe it is more so cyberpunk, you could describe it as that, but it's got a really cool design to its characters, the way that they incorporate the mythos into them, and just with the sub theme of like the music. And there's also this in-game musical mini game mode. It's really fun and a lot of fun to play with. Now, it is also an idle battler itself, so that was one of the reasons it didn't really stick with me long term. However, I will say it does feel like there's a little more of an intervention you can have in some of the gameplay itself in terms of like timing some of the abilities. But overall, another idle battler that I didn't really stick with, but I think is a really cool design. Due to that though, I'm probably still gonna put it probably above AFK Arena for me, because I think from an overall artistic perspective, I really liked it. Next, we've got Epic 7. I'm going to be a little bit biased on this one. Epic 7 is probably the first gacha game that I really sunk my teeth into, played for multiple years. I was there on global launch, and a game that I absolutely fell in love with from the animation perspective, from the gameplay perspective, and from the actual story perspective too. They did a really great job with it and actually having like deep characters. And I find that while yes, there is an auto battle mode for this game, the ability to still go in and have that manual intervention in terms of when you're timing skills and ultimates, it allowed you to push content and be a little more engaged with it than some of the other idle games or auto battlers that you might encounter. As well, it has a really strong competitive PvP scene. Now, I know some people have called the PvP wallet wars. I was never a big PvP guy myself, so honestly, I didn't really care much. So I probably would rate it higher than some other people who are really upset about the PvP scene, but that's just me. So for me personally, I've got a lot of nostalgia when it comes to Epic 7. I'm probably going to put Epic 7 at like an A tier personally. I think it's I may even come back and change that, but I think overall Epic 7, definitely an A tier for me in that case. Next, we've got Eversoul. Honestly, I have nothing negative to say about Eversoul. Eversoul was a really comfy game, and that's because it was so easy to get the new characters, not necessarily getting a lot of duplicates of the characters, although that's still pretty achievable. But from a free-to-play perspective, you could basically get any new character that came with the game, at least one copy of them. And so that was really fun from like a collection standpoint and unlocking all the different kinds of characters. It didn't have anything that really stuck with me long-term to make me want to stay with it, but honestly, like I said, I've got nothing really negative to say about it. It was just kind of another comfy idle game. I'm probably going to put it below Dislight, but above AFK Arena for me. I did like Eversoul a lot more. It felt way more approachable, especially because I joined it on launch. Next was another game called Exos Heroes, which, to be honest, I have not heard almost anything about, probably like since close to its launch. I stuck with it for maybe like a month or two. A game I'll say similar to like Epic 7 style, artistic style of the game didn't super stand out to me. I didn't really care for the characters much. The story was super mid at the time. I don't know where it's gone since. It's been I think it's been out for a few years now. I'm probably going to give that a C tier. Probably going to be a first C tier for me personally. Fate Grand Order. I brought this one in here because I wanted to declare that it's a game that I'm never going to touch. I don't give a crap about Fate Grand Order. I've heard too many things about it from the greater community that it's not worth it. It's been out for like 6 years or something I could never hope to catch up on. I don't think it even has a pity system. I think it's so old in terms of gacha games that it doesn't have a pity system, which that idea sounds like insane to me. I don't want to touch a thing with a 10-foot pole. We're not going to be doing that. Next, we had this game. It was called Guardians of Claudia, I think is what it was called. So here's the thing. I feel like I forget this game almost entirely. Not very memorable. I didn't really care much for it. We're gonna throw that in a C tier. Next, Guardian Tales. Guardian Tales, I think, is a gem of a gacha game. It is very different from a lot of the other gacha games that you're going to encounter. Like, for example, Epic 7, Dislight, Eversoul, AFK Arena, Exos Heroes. All of them are very similar team builders to idle battlers. Even though some have more intervention that you can do with them, they're all fairly the same in that case. Guardian Tales is more akin to like the classic Legend of Zelda games where you've got the top-down exploration. You're still building your teams. It's squads of 3. I just wanted to bring up the trailer for a minute because I really wanted to show you guys, for anybody who hasn't had a chance to try this game, that it is a lot of fun. I will say, as far as gacha games goes too, it's a fairly free-to-play friendly game. The new characters to get are pretty accessible. So if you haven't had a chance to try this game, I would say go and do it. There is a PvP element to it, but it is some degree skill-based, at least when I played it, where you could actually outplay other players in terms of this like arena, because it is like a live arena where you're running around battling each other. So if you haven't had a chance to play it, go and check it out, guys. It was a great game. And in that case, I'm going to put Guardian Tales up in the A tier as well. I think I'm going to put it above Epic 7 for me personally. I think it was just great. This game was called like Hawk Alien Space Shooter or something. And it was this game that's more akin to something like Galaga for my old people out there, where you are piloting your ship, going through it. I think technically it's classified as a bullet hell style game. One thing that really broke up the style of these other games that I had been trying from, you know, just the classic idle battlers. And so it was great. I'm going to throw that in a B tier as well. It was just, you know, it was a comfy game. Higan and Ruthal feel very similarly to, I would say, Eversoul, where it was kind of just like a fairly comfy gacha game. It's a 3D anime style game. The battles are more like Final Fantasy, where it's live turn-based combat, where you get these cards and then you can use the cards to trigger different abilities and within the battle. And there's strategy that goes into it as well if you want to do it manually, where you can choose what cards and abilities you're using when across the different characters. It still didn't have a strong enough hook to really keep me long term. I'm going to throw it again in another B tier. I'm going to put it above AFK Arena and Hawk for sure, but you know, I'd probably even put it above Eversoul in terms of like how more engaging it was during that time. All right, let's talk about some of the other Honkai games here. We've got Honkai Impact 3rd. This game has got some of the coolest special animations that I've ever seen released in the game. Knowing that it's free and the quality of content that comes along with it, it is top tier. I Really, it's got some really tight, slick combat, really well-designed characters, a great story to engage with. It's pretty much got it all. The only thing that goes against it for me is that if you are a late game player coming into it, well, there's a few things that they do help you out with. It feels daunting to try and catch up. And being a fairly mature game at this point in terms of like how long it's been out, it does feel a little bit overwhelming trying to come back and get into. As somebody who started even a little bit later on the game, I felt overwhelmed at the time, and I came in, I think, a year or 2 years after launch, and it already felt like a ton to catch up on and try and progress through. And so if you want something for like a long haul grind to get through, I think this is a game that's definitely worth your time. It's got a lot of great things going along with it. Like, look at those flashy combat animations. I'm gonna plant it at an A tier, only because I don't think it's super free to play friendly for getting the different units. Definitely one of the most exciting parts of that game is getting a variety of units because the characters look so cool, and it's really hard. It's really hard to get them. It takes forever to save just to like guarantee one of them if you have like really bad luck. So definitely not going to put it up there. Honkai Star Rail. Honestly, I think this is going to be the first one. We're going to jump right into it. It's an S tier for me. For a free to play game to put out a turn-based game with this level of quality is just crazy to me. The in-game animations are fantastic. It's got a amazing story that is actually like really deep and do a great job fleshing out all of the different characters. Like, a big complaint about Genshin, which we'll get to Genshin, we'll talk about it in a bit, is that they don't have the in-game characters that you pull for and that you like interact within the story. So much of Honkai Star Rail is the characters you like and care about engaging with each other within the game. So as somebody who plays more PvE content and likes more of the story element of games, it is totally up there with some top tier storytelling. We're a couple patches in now, and each patch has had some pretty good things to come along with it. It's not the most accessible in terms of pulling for characters. The music, I almost forgot about the music. The music in Honkai Star Rail elevates the feeling and theming for it so much that it's just fantastic. I absolutely love that game. From the tippity top though, we're going to the very bottom where we've got what's this one? This was SAO Unsheathing or something. It was C. I don't want to talk more about it. Knighthood breaks away from the anime genre of an RPG where you got to build your knight unit. There was a lot of customization and stuff that you could do along with it. It was really fun. It was a lot of fun. I didn't stick with it for super long. There's not really like a story or anything along with it, but if you want something from like a tight gameplay perspective, it's got some tight gameplay. Probably in the B tier above AFK Arena. All right, we got to talk about it. Genshin Impact. I think, like most other people who play gacha games, Genshin Impact was pretty world-changing for me in terms of what a gacha game could be. The open world exploration, that initial rush and feeling that you got from exploring Mondstadt for the first time and then going into Liyue, and then when the first patch came for going to Inazuma, it brought about an excitement to play that I don't think I had really ever experienced from another gacha game. And you know, while looking back, I can be a little more cynical about, you know, some things, some of the story elements, and in terms of like there being like a lot of like filler, you know, really lacking in ways that Honkai Star Rail has fixed in terms of like the characters that you like are barely in it, and you're spending 95% of your time talking to random NPCs that you don't give a rip about. While I can still be cynical about that, I think the joy that I got for that game definitely beats out a lot of the other negatives that came along with it. I grinded out that game from basically day one to probably the Alhaitham patch is when I finally, you know, retired, where I missed maybe 2 days of playing that game. I think Genshin Impact has really carved the way for other gacha games in terms of what a gacha game could be. I think I have to put it in S tier in that way. No, sorry, I do have to drop it down one to A. Honkai Star Rail has really fixed a lot of the gaps that Genshin Impact has. I do think Honkai Star Rail is stands above it in that case, but definitely still high A. It was a game industry shaping game. Mario Kart World Tour. which was like the first Nintendo Gacha game. You got to gacha roll for the different characters, and all of the different tracks actually are coming to Mario Kart 8, which is kind of fun. I got the battle pass for that and trying those things out. It got really boring really quickly, like just doing the thumb gameplay. I got really competitive for a little bit there, but didn't care much to stick with it long term, so probably B. Ni no Kuni Cross Worlds. I wanted to be so much more than it ended up being, and so I don't think it's as bad as the other games to go in a C tier, but it's low B for sure. Goddess of Victory Nikke. If you know, you know. Some people may roast me in the comments for this. The story of that game is actually good. I was not expecting anything special from it, but then actually I actually was reading through. It's fully voiced. The game is fully voiced with some special animations mixed throughout it as well. However, I'm embarrassed to play it in front of other people. A tier for me. Punishing Gray Raven. Mame. A fantastic action RPG. If you're fans of the channel, you know how fantastic this game is. It is a great game. I think the free-to-play friendliness of how accessible it is to get new characters if you're saving. They have a great mix of, like, you know, free and farmable units. A great story that comes along with it. Starts really slow, but really starts to pick up and get like really deep. Some of the character designs are fantastic, especially on the newer characters that are coming for global, already released on CN. I'm probably gonna throw that in an A tier as well. That's where it's gonna go. I know some people are probably gonna be a little more annoyed with me for that, not putting it in S tier because I'm covering it on the channel. It's up there, guys. High A for sure. All right, let's rapid fire these last couple. Raid Shadow Legends, you know the game. It's super meh for me. Dropped really fast. Raziel is a 3D, almost like a Diablo style game. A little bit of a dungeon crawler running around where you're farming gear. I dropped it maybe after a week. Snowbreak Containment Zone on here as an honorable mention as a plan to play. This was, what was this game again? I forget what this game is. Well, clearly it was bad. Tower of Fantasy, while it's a solid game overall, it just did not hook me. I think I was really burnt out on Genshin at the time when I tried it, and I was really looking for something else to kind of fill that void. And I think the amount of investment that was needed for an MMO style game and another open world game, it just wasn't a right fit for me at the time. I probably would still put it mid B, probably. I definitely put more time invested into it than the other ones. So we'll say high B in this case. Sword Art Online, Integral Factor. This was like the MMO styled SAO game that came out on mobile. Stuck with it for a little while, honestly. Better than probably those ones. So we're gonna put it above those in the B tier. Last two honorable mentions. I plan on playing Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero. Two games that I'm super excited about. But that's gonna be it, guys. This is my tier list. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. I really do think Honkai Star Rail right now, yeah, I'll have almost no negatives to say about it. The only thing that I can, if I'm digging for something, is it takes a long time to raise characters, but you could say that about a bunch of the other games on this list too. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I greatly appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.